From the center of the universe, now in its 7th season covering your 19-time Grey Cup champion Toronto Argonauts, it's the X's and Argos podcast with Argos color analyst Ben Grant and Coach JB.
Welcome to the X's and Argos postgame reaction podcast brought to you by Something in the Water Brewing. My name's Ben Grant, joined not by JB today, but Adam Gosse, who is the voice in the stadium of your Toronto Argonauts. I'm really happy to have Adam here with me. We'll talk about the game today, but before we get to that, and what an amazing victory it was, Toronto Argonauts winning 52-34 over the BC Lions, I first want to tell you about Something in the Water Brewing. They are our fantastic sponsor. They're just over that way in Liberty Village. They do a fantastic job. They got so many great beers, a couple new ones this week as well. And if you haven't yet tried Longboat, you got to try Longboat. The new Longboat, it's a session IPA. It is fantastic. Got an amazing flavor. I know Adam can vouch for that. Something in the Water is a great place to go before the game, after a practice. It's in the heart of Liberty Village, and so anytime you're out seeing the Argos, make sure you drop by Something in the Water Brewing. And before we get to our analysis of today's game, let's hear some of the radio replays. Here's Mike Hogan with today's calls on TSN 1050.
So Jenner and Grant standing at his 20-yard line, Herslow at the 15. Grant to the near side, Argos moving from right to left here in this opening quarter. Myers' kickoff is up, and it's going to be Herslow taking it at the 15-yard line, far side. 20-25, he's going to head to the outside, 30-35, squirts his way through, 40, 45, 50, out to midfield. Great return for Jake Herslow. And the Argos will get outstanding field position on their first drive. Second down and 9.5, five-man rush. And Arbuckle's going long. He's got a man downfield, caught at midfield for the first down. And brought down at the 49-yard line. And that was Dejan Brissett going up and getting it, taking it away from the defender. And the Argos get that big offensive surge they needed. From the 3-yard line, right hash mark, no tight end. They're going to go 3 receivers up top, 2 to the near side. Spencer Brown is in the backfield. He'll now flood out to the left side. Quarterback draw, Nick runs into the end zone. Touchdown Argos, as the Argos leading rusher pads his stats, gets into the end zone, and the Argos have moved to within 2 points. It's 14-12, and we'll see if they go for 1 or 2. 3 receivers to the wide side, 2 to the right, Brissett and Daniels, and they will go ground game, and walking into the end zone is Spencer Brown. And the Argos have tied it at 14 with 7.5 minutes remaining in the first half. Lions moving with a slight breeze now. The wind has died down considerably at BMO Field. Five-man rush. Rourke goes to the far side. Is picked off! Picked off by Benji. He is not going to get caught, or is he? He beats Rourke and finds his way to the end zone. It is all about the Benjamin. Benji Franklin to the house, and the Argos have taken their first lead. 3 receivers, Herslow's to the near side with Mittal and Unger, Brissett and Daniels up top. Brown in the backfield, standing to the right of Arbuckle. There's the snap, 4-man rush, deep drop. Arbuckle now goes over the middle, has a man wide open, touchdown! Kevin Mittal with the house call, and the Argos reclaim the lead. It's 27-21 with 33 ticks on the ticker. First down at their own 40, Argos moving from left to right. BC will send, they've got 4 on the line. It looks like a couple of secondary guys are creeping up. And they will send 5, and Arbuckle a pump fake going long. He's looking for Brissett. He's got it to the 20, to the 14-yard line. Ball comes out. They're saying he was down by contact. Dejan Brissett with a huge reception, and Nick Arbuckle has just gone over his career high for yardage in a single season. Arbuckle will have Brown in the backfield. 3 receivers to the left, 2 to the right. Ball on the right hash mark. Arbuckle look things over. Starts the receivers. And now will hand the ball off to Brown to the 3, touchdown! Big cut back into the middle. The Argos extend the lead as Spencer Brown has his first touchdown as an Argo. Second down 15 from their own 35-yard line. They'll put 3 to each side as they empty out the backfield. 4-man rush. Rourke under pressure, down he goes! They got him back at the 27. And it's Chatfield who had the tip. Now he's got his 7th sack of the season. And the Argos are going to get the ball back, sporting an 11-point lead. 3 receivers near side. 5-man rush. Arbuckle's going to go long. He's going deep. He's going end zone. It's caught! Herslow spinning around, makes a catch, and the Argos get a 40-yard bomb for the touchdown. First down at the 40-yard line. Argos moving from right to left, and they will fake an inside toss. Arbuckle rolling to the right. He's going long. He's got a man. Herslow. He's got it. 30, 20, 10. Touchdown! Jake Herslow, his 2nd bomb. It's a 70-yard touchdown strike. Arbuckle's over 400 yards. The Argos have a 3-score lead if they can kick the extra point. And it's getting loud here at BMO Field on a 2nd down and 10 from the 39-yard line of the Argos. Lions moving from left to right, wearing all black, Argos in all light blue. Back to pass is Rourke. Pressure from 5. He gets hit. Ball's out. Ball's out. It's on the ground. The Argos have it at the 43-yard line. The Argos were looking for a turnover. They got it. And I think it's Johnson on the recovery as Wynton McManis came in and laid down the lumber.
Again, the final score, 52-34. Argos over the Lions in a must-win game. Adam, I'm going to turn it over to you first. What were your takeaways, just generally, having been through what we've been through this season, what some of these fans have been through this season? What'd you get out of today's game?
I feel like if this season was a tree, the tree finally came down. This team has been chopping wood all season, and even though the team let up 34 points, I feel this was the strongest showing from all 3 phases tonight. You know, you had a lot better kickoff and punt coverage. The defense made some plays. They scored a touchdown, and the offense did what it has been doing now for seemingly weeks, was to put a ton of points on the board and execute almost flawlessly.
Yeah, I thought, the offense, maybe we'll start there when we start going through it, but the offense today was spectacular. I think 34 points for the BC Lions, obviously that's a good offensive output, but I think we expected that. We expected BC to put up at least 30, and it was, can the Argos go step for step with the BC Lions and hang with them? And instead it was, can the BC Lions hang with the Argos? What amazes me is that it didn't start out that way. That first Toronto drive looked good, but it stalled. Ended up, there was an end around to Janarian Grant, ended up losing yards. They put themselves in like a 2nd and 15. Couldn't convert the first down, kicked the field goal, and BC went right down the field and scored a touchdown. Argos had to punt the ball away. BC came right down again and scored another touchdown. And it felt like it was like we've seen this game before. It felt like it was going to be one of those again. And then suddenly, 25 points for the Argos in the second, 14 in the third, 10 in the fourth. They were firing today. What was the difference? What allowed the Argos to put up 52 points, 45 of which came from the offense?
Protection. I saw the offensive line make some adjustments. They started giving Nick a lot of time. And sometimes there was too much time. Nick had a lot of decisions to make. But, I mean, like you said, the running game was really slow and plottish early in the game. But the second half, my goodness, Spencer Brown, they found something in that young man.
Yeah, he's pretty fun to watch. And I want to be cautious with Spencer Brown and anointing him as the next great thing, because it was almost exclusively in the fourth quarter. Like almost all of it came in those last 2 drives where BC was worn down. They've been on the field a lot. And I think in that last drive, certainly down 2 scores, maybe guys aren't putting their bodies on the line the same way they were in the first quarter. So we do have to, I want to be cautious.
Sure.
But Spencer Brown did look fantastic. Those little jump cuts, he made guys miss. I don't think he had necessarily a ton of space, but it got better. And you know what's funny about running the football in football is, as an offensive lineman, if you believe your back is going to make plays, you become a better blocker. Like if you believe the run game's going to be successful, you become a better offensive lineman. And I think some of those runs, those 8 and 9 yard runs, a 10-yard run at the end, I think what you saw is a little bit of belief from the Argos O-lineman that, hey, we can run the football, and we're going to get back out and start running the football.
Absolutely. I mean, the other thing in a Ryan Dinwiddie offense, as a running back, rushing the ball is almost secondary. Pass pro is first. And when we saw McMahan come out of the game, Spencer Brown didn't miss a beat. His pass pro was fantastic.
Yeah.
He picked up everything coming through, and that gave Nick time to move the football.
Yeah, the guys that they bring in, that is priority. Like, I think the front office does a good job of that. McMahon, despite not being the biggest guy in the world, is really good in pass protection in my mind. And that's why, one of the things that they love about Chop Williams too, great in pass protection. And Spencer Brown held up there because he certainly was not expecting coming in today to have 19 carries. There's no chance he woke up this morning.
Has any running back this year had 19 carries?
No, nowhere close to that. And the biggest rushing performance by a single back of the season too, at 85 yards. And of course he's got that touchdown. Now, I will say Nick Arbuckle still is the Argos rushing leader despite Spencer Brown's performance. He leads in yards and is all alone now after that the quarterback draw play. He's all alone with 2 touchdowns, the most rushing touchdowns for an Argonauts player.
Not?
But if Spencer Brown continues to play like this and gets opportunities, Arbuckle will not continue and has no business being the Argos leading rusher. But it's a good thing he can throw the football. He did that extremely well today. Let me go through Arbuckle's stats because even if you're watching, you probably didn't realize how many yards Arbuckle threw for. So 26 of 33 for 430 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown. That is a heck of a football game against a team that most people are considering and kind of almost already declared to be a playoff team in the BC Lions, which I think now we have to maybe second guess as the Argos are fighting their way back towards that crossover spot. But what a day for Nick Arbuckle. He looked probably as comfortable as he's looked all season, I would say.
Absolutely. Any critics rather, who have been hard on him for his deep ball or lack thereof, have been silenced today. His deep touch balls were perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. He found wide open receivers deep all game long.
Yeah, I think, of 33 pass attempts, I thought there were 2 bad throws, which is great. I will take that. 2 bad throws out of 33. One was actually on a touchdown. I thought the first touchdown to Herslow, Herslow had a step. He had his man beat, and Arbuckle just came up short and behind. But you can afford to when the DBs aren't looking back at you, and so it ended up almost looking like a back shoulder. The DBs had no idea where the ball was. Herslow was able to adjust, kind of came back to it, fell into the end zone. So when one of your 2 bad throws is still a touchdown, things are going well for you. And then the other one was probably the only bad series the Argos had the entire game. It started with that flea flicker where I thought he might have drawn an intentional grounding penalty, just sort of threw it away, but no flag. The second play looked like it was going to be picked off. It was actually Dejan Brissett who broke the pass up to prevent that from being a pick. And then BC ended up committing a penalty and extended the drive. But that was really the only poor drive from the Argos. Every other drive out there, Arbuckle had complete control, made great decisions, was firing the football with confidence, with great velocity. Those touch passes that he was able to float in as well, he had everything going tonight. From start to finish, Arbuckle has gotten better and better seemingly every single game, and I don't think you can get much better than 430 and 4 total touchdowns. That's awesome.
What a great feeling to know that you can rely on the offense to help win you a football game every time they set foot in the field.
Yeah.
Right. This is an offense that's firing on all cylinders right now. And if the defense slowly starts to come together, make a few plays here and there that they did tonight, special teams plays contain well. I mean, Janarian Grant isn't necessarily the Janarian Grant of old, but if the special teams is playing the way they are, he doesn't have to be. And the offense playing there, he doesn't have to be.
Yeah, if you put up 52 points, you can kind of do what you want for the rest of the football game. But we'll get to the defense, and I want to talk about Benji Franklin and also Delonte Hood, who had his debut today, who I thought
welcome
really,
to the CFL, Delonte Hood.
Yeah, he looked great today. I thought he played some good football. But before we get to the defense, let's talk about that receiving core and some of the things that they were able to do. So Kevin Mittal, he led the team in receptions with 7 for 63 yards and a touchdown. I knew that it was either going to be he, Herslow, or Brissett that would probably need to step up. I thought, DeMaris Daniels was going to be in tough. He was matched up against Gary Peters all day long, who is one of the best cover corners in the CFL. And so one of those 3 guys needed to step up. all three of those guys stepped up. So Mittal with 7 receptions and a touchdown. Herslow, 5 catches for 149 yards and 2 touchdowns, averaging, is that 30 yards a reception, basically?
If that's not a career game for Herslow, I want to see what is.
Yeah, he was unbelievable. It got to the point where he had one drop pass, which was, it's not going to count as a drop because it was contested. The defender got his hand in there too. But I was like shocked because coming into this game, he had caught 14 of 16 targets. And even though the defender actually knocked it away, the fact that it hit even one of his hands, I was like, well, that should be an automatic catch. It's Jake Herslow. But that shows you the standard of expectation we have for that guy. He is playing amazing football. Imagine, like, this is the most unbelievable part of this game. The Argos just put up 52 points without Chad Kelly and DeMonte Coxie. You came into this game saying, who's gonna score points for the Argos with Coxie out? One of the best offensive players, if not the best skill position player in the CFL this season. It's pretty much he and Kenny Lawler. Those are the conversations. They're without him. They're without the MOP from 2 seasons ago, and they've just hung up 52 points on the BC Lions. And what Mike Hogan said in our broadcast, that 52 points is actually the most points scored in a regular season game since 1997 against Winnipeg, which would have been the Doug Flutie-led Toronto Argonauts. That is unbelievable. So, awesome day offensively.
This Argos receiving corps has likely been the strongest and most consistent unit on this football team all season long. And yet again, they showed their depth. Like you mentioned, a guy like Coxie comes out, but there's guys that step in and make plays. And with Arbuckle playing the way he is, conceivably anybody can slide in, and the offense won't miss a beat.
Yeah, and we didn't even talk really about Brissett too much. Like 4 catches for 118. He had that field-stretching 57-yarder that I thought was massive. Again, it was just one of those perfect moments where you were thinking, like, is this going to be a 2-and-out? Is this going to be a problem here where BC starts stretching away with this thing? But no, Brissett deep. BC just wasn't. They weren't respecting Arbuckle's deep game. I think that's pretty clear, and I understand why. I think you look at the film, and that has been the knock on Nick Arbuckle, is that he hasn't been able to stretch the field, and that's what has made life tough for him, is that teams have been able to really kind of buckle down. And you saw BC standing sometimes only 10 yards from the line of scrimmage, like all their DBs at the sticks marker, and he punished them for it today. And that's what needs to happen. I love that for his confidence. Yes. I think that's huge, and we'll see going forward if teams keep playing the way BC did. Hopefully he can continue to stretch the field out, and knowing that it doesn't just have to be DeMonte Coxie, I think is huge, because coming into this game, I don't have a number on this. I would imagine most of Arbuckle's deep throws have gone in the direction of DeMonte Coxie, and without him out there today, you didn't necessarily know where that was going to come from. I love the fact that he's got Herslow deep, he's got Brissett deep, he's not afraid to throw to Mittal deep. We know Tavares is always happy to go up and get a deep ball. So yeah, I'd love to see that for the Argos offense today.
Herslow has brought an element of speed to the offense that I'm not sure we've seen all season long. Coxie is a physical presence. Yeah. His 50-50 balls he'll come down with almost every time. But Herslow's speed, I think, is underrated, and he showed it even on some kick returns tonight. His deep patterns are fantastic.
I know. He's so much faster than his time, because athletically, he's not statistically impressive. You look at his numbers, from his Houston Pro Day, they don't jump out at you. He does not look like that guy in the football field. We've seen his, and football speed is what matters. Like game speed, those are the things that matter. It doesn't matter how fast you run on a track. We've seen guys that are great track athletes that can't necessarily put it together. You got guys like, I'm not trying to take down the guys like Chandler Worthy or things like that, but he's like blazing fast, but didn't necessarily turn into an elite receiver in the CFL. And Herslow seemed to be the other way around. Not a guy that has that track speed necessarily, but a guy that seems to be able to play at a different level on the field. Maybe that was a bad comparison, because Chandler Worthy was pretty fast on the field as a kick returner, so that's a bad example. But
I can't remember who the DB was on Herslow. 70-yard touchdown play, but he pulled away from the defender right at the end there, just enough to cross the goal line.
I know, he was gone. I know. Well, it was Gary Peters was in chase, so Peters can move. He was in the corner on that. It was on that corner route that they caught. And I'll talk more about that play later. A teaser, that may be my play of the game coming up, because I thought that was a beautiful decision from Arbuckle. I'll talk about that more later. But he's got way more speed than he tested at. He's got way more vertical. We saw that in the last home game where he hurdled an upright defender. He brings a special element to this team. There's no question. And then just rounding it out, Dave Ungerer, only 3 catches, but they came in key moments. Again, Arbuckle found him on a comeback route. That's his thing. It's so crucial down there. There were a few moments, too, where like Ungerer's holding his spacing, Brissett's holding his spacing, and Arbuckle now gets to play around with the defender who's trying to cover both guys in space. It's a smart receiving core that they don't need to beat you one way. And today they beat you with a little bit of guile, and I thought had some good play calls too from Coach Dinwiddie to know when to attack, to know when to go deep, and that decision making from Arbuckle was second to none today. Let's go over to the defensive side of the ball and talk about those guys, because they deserve some praise too. And I know you look at the box score and you say, well, they let up 34 points. These BC Lions are no joke. Like, coming into this week, JB and I were talking in our pregame walkthrough, like, how do you stop the BC Lions offense? We didn't have a good answer. Like, JB is like, I don't know. I guess you try and take away the run, and maybe that's the best you can do. But they did take away the run. Final numbers, I don't remember what. Butler's got 83 yards. Like, that's 83 yards is a very good rushing day, but those came on bursts. I would say they actually did a good job on Butler. They didn't let him take over the game. In the first half, Butler had, I think, under 30 yards rushing. He did have that rushing touchdown, but it wasn't like this was a James Butler game. And Rourke did throw for 326, but again, a lot of that came late, and they kept Rourke out of the end zone. You look at the points scored by the BC Lions, they scored 14 in the first quarter. They never got close to that again. 7 in the second, 9 in the third, 4 in the fourth, when the defense really closed things out. So yeah, let's sing the defense's praises, even though they let up 34 points.
Well, Nathan Rourke is still Nathan Rourke.
Yeah.
And he gets the ball out so quickly. I think I count 2 steamboats and the ball's in the air. And his chemistry with McManis and Hatcher tonight were incredible.
Yeah.
Because he had a face full of Argo defense in every play, but he found a way to get the ball out. So I think it's a testament to how good this team is playing to hold the Lions at 34 points, the way Rourke has been dealing. You know, if any other day and Rourke has even 3 seconds of time, he's gonna torch you.
And let's not forget the plays that didn't happen. Like, there was the Benji Franklin pick 6. I thought, like, what a read from Franklin to see that coming, see it developing, and to be able to get in front of the receiver's hands. Reach out your hands for me, for someone watching on YouTube here. The ball's just about to hit the receiver's hands, just gets his hands in there ahead of them, and then took off to the end zone. And Rourke is no slouch. Like, he can run, and he had the perfect angle on Franklin, but that shows you Franklin's speed. He's out there saying, hey, Delonte Hood's not the only guy that can run a 4.2. I've got some wheels as well. And he took off down the sideline, was able to get past Rourke for the 6. I thought that was such a turning point for the defense, because they had allowed 14 points to that stage, and then after that moment, after Franklin's pick 6, the defense had a different swagger, a swagger that I don't know if I've seen in them all season long.
Right.
Love to see that from them, and to see it come from someone other than Wynton McManis, I think was huge.
Agreed, and McManis himself had a tremendous sack fumble.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were plays made all over the place. I mean, Andrew Chatfield was up to his old tricks. Sluka had a number of great tackles. You mentioned Delonte Hood. I mean, Rourke only was able to run the ball once. He ran it for 47 yards. DeMarcus Johnson had him dead to rights in the backfield. But again, Rourke showing his speed that you mentioned earlier. But yeah, this defense played well. For the first time, all 3 phases did enough for them to achieve success.
Yeah, and even those like Seven's a good returner. Like, he can fly, and the fact that McGee didn't get into the end zone on the couple of those big runs that he had back, I thought was, showed some great hustle from that special teams unit. But more often than not, they were the ones delivering punishment. I thought McGee was smoked a couple times by that coverage unit, and there was one other time I thought Kassar was going to light him up as well, and Varga actually kind of cut him off, and so Kassar had to hold up. They ended up, I think Herdman Reed was the one that made the tackle on that play, and it ended up being essentially no return. But that unit, I thought, answered the bell really well. Mickey Donovan has got to be thrilled with a game like that where it wasn't perfect, but as bad as things have been at times this season, where the Argos have allowed either a kick return touchdown, punt return touchdown, big return after big return, I thought there was some real progress today, and maybe a bit of swagger for that unit too. So I think you're right in calling them out as part of this 3-phase win. Well,
we're so used to Lirim Hajrullahu just going out and taking care of business. He really wasn't tested tonight, but another perfect game from Lirim. And you combine that with improved coverage and some decent returns, and you've got a strong performance. I can't ask for much more than that from my special teams.
And don't forget, they also had Simon Chavez in that long snapper. Adam Guillemette, who I think is the best long snapper in the league, just delivers a bullet of a long snap every single time, right on the money. Chavez came in here, signed just 2 days, or traded for just like 2 days ago. Barely had time to suit up with the team. I know he practiced, or he played with the Argos last year. He was in for one game last year, but he's been on 6 teams in 2 years, and barely got a chance to get his uniform, I'm sure, thrown into the game, and he was flawless today. No punts were even close to being blocked. No field goals were offline. Everything was nice and clean from him. So hopefully Guillemette can get back soon. But for Chavez, I thought this was a great contribution from him today too. Let's talk about a couple moments just before we get into our plays of the game and our players of the game. A couple moments in this game, I felt like we experienced a here we go again moment early on in this game, because there was a ball that Benji Franklin almost picked off, and it got tipped about 30 yards into the air.
3 different players, I think.
I know, and 3 Argos players are trying to converge on this ball. They're looking like, who's going to pick it? And suddenly, was it Eberhardt that came out of nowhere and made a diving catch? You never see that happen. When a ball gets tipped up by a DB 30 yards into the air, no receiver comes down with it. That's just a rule. I don't know if I've ever seen a play like that before. And that's been the season for Toronto. It just felt like every time the ball could bounce Toronto's way, it didn't. And that one yet again, and the very next play, it goes in for a touchdown. Toronto's down 14-3. And it just felt like that. But then, and there were 2 other plays too, tip balls. That one that Derek Parrish almost caught. Another one that Sluka almost caught. Tip balls that seemed to never go in Toronto's favor, but then they did get a couple bounces. Arbuckle had a fumble in the late stages of the game, and Toronto was able to recover. I think it was Spencer Brown that came back, was able to pick up the football, and that throw that was a little bit off to Herslow on the first touchdown, and yet the DBs didn't see it. Herslow made the adjustment. He was able to make the play. So a bunch of plays today that I think in other games this season haven't gone their way. Maybe that the Argo bounce is maybe some regression to the mean, I guess, as we get back to normalcy.
The common denominator on that wacky tip ball that Eberhardt came down with, and all the tip balls you mentioned, others, was pressure from the defensive line.
Yeah.
Which hasn't always been there this season. And I know the sacks don't necessarily show for it, and there's 2 sacks on the game tonight, but there was pressure and work all game long, and you can see what pressure does to a guy like Work. Now, I mentioned before, he can throw the ball, and he can throw it very fast. But anytime there was a mistake is because Work had a face full of defensive line.
You know what's interesting to me?
He got blasted on that tip ball.
Yeah, and he got hit a few times tonight. Now, 2 of them were flagged, or maybe even 3. I think 3 were flagged for roughing the quarterback. 1 didn't really cost them. It ended up only being a 1-yard penalty because the play ended up going down to the 2-yard line anyway. But I think it was 3 different times. And, you never want pass interference or roughing the passer penalties. Like, you never want that.
Right.
But, maybe in a game where you're reminding Rourke that we're right there, maybe that wasn't the worst thing in the world. I think Chatfield got a couple. And again, it's not like Coach David is saying, yeah, go out and and rough the passer. No coach wants that. But maybe in a game where you're trying to send a message, maybe that wasn't the worst development to just remind Nathan Rourke, like, we're right there. We are a split second away from clobbering you, so you best get that ball in a hurry. Maybe that sped up his timing a little bit. Again, I'm acting like Rourke had a bad game. He still threw for like 340 yards and a couple touchdowns. But I think maybe that maybe those hits weren't from a football standpoint weren't the worst thing in the world. Other things I wanted to talk about. I thought they made a nice adjustment early on. Now, the defensive secondary, they're still going to have some problems. When they look at the film, there were a few busts. We saw on multiple occasions, Hatcher especially, ended up near the sideline with nobody anywhere close to him. And Benji Franklin looking around and saying, like, what happened here? Like, Bratton and Sluka both go with the same guy. Stuff like that. They do have to work some things out. But I thought what they did adjust from well was early in the game, Rourke was picking on the middle of the field. And anytime he saw that Toronto had two deep defenders, anytime Sluka left the middle, and it was like he and Bratton back playing wide, or he and McFadden playing wide, Rourke seemed to rip them apart on post routes. And both of those first two touchdown drives were made possible because of that very throw. They cleaned that up. They found a way to close that down. They're like, okay, he's burning us with this. Let's show something else instead. And I actually thought Sluka got into his head a little bit in the late stages. He threw one away that, if it had been on target, would have been a pick by Sluka when he ended up over top of, I think it was Katoy, in the later stages of the game. So there was some really nice play in there from the DBs, even though it wasn't perfect. And I just want to shout out Delonte Hood because it was his first game as an Argonaut. First time dressed, I think, as an Argonaut, and first start as an Argo. Go to Argonauts.ca, read the story that Mike Hogan wrote on this guy. He has been through some amazing adversity in his life, like more beyond anything I can even imagine. And the fact that going from that to Peru State in Nebraska and still ending up as a final cut with 3 different NFL teams shows you the caliber of athlete we're talking about, but also the character that this guy has to end up in this situation where almost everybody else would have shut down, would have folded. This guy found a way to persevere. Go check out that article. You will have so much respect for Hood going forward, I guarantee you. And I thought he played really nice tonight. Didn't have, stat line on corners is tough. Ended up with 3 tackles. I thought he looked really good. Did not look out of place.
But when you're playing one of the best quarterbacks in the CFL, you know he's going to get tested.
Yeah.
The Lions know this is his first game.
Yeah.
If I was a quarterback, I'd pick on him all game long as well. But he didn't get torched.
No, that's it.
He looked comfortable.
Yeah.
And really cute story from Mike Hogan today. Mike Hogan mentioned that Chris Belenovich, obviously the Argos media director, every time Belenovich is in the weight room, Delonte Hood's in the weight room. And I follow Delonte Hood on Instagram, and if you do, you'll know what I'm talking about. This man does not take a day off. He has been working hard off the field to earn this spot, and it's great to see.
And if you've seen Chris Belenovich's calves, you know that is a man that does not take off leg day. No. He is in there all the time, even carrying up waters to the press box or whatever it is. He's doing farmer's walks. That man gets in his workouts. And so if Hood is there every time he is, that means Hood is doing something right. There's no question about that. All right, let's get into our plays of the game and our players of the game. I'm going to give you honors, Adam. Let's start with our player of the game. Who was your player of the game today?
It has to be Nick Arbuckle. It has to be Nick Arbuckle. Over 400 yards in the air, 4 total touchdowns. He was dealing from the minute go. He looked comfortable. His deep ball is improving. Like you said, he made some great decisions. He knew when not to throw the football. He only ran 3 times, but one of them was a touchdown run when the parting of the seas happened. Just an all-around terrific performance by Arbuckle, who seems to be getting better week in, week out.
And Arbuckle's the obvious choice, just so it's not boring. I'm going to choose someone else, but Arbuckle is the correct answer. It's the only answer. I'm going to go Jake Herslow because I just thought when the Argos needed another answer, we've seen Kevin Mittal games, we've seen Dejan Brissett games before. Herslow, he's been in the lineup for like 3 games. He's done something amazing in every single game. You think about the hurdle play, you think about the ridiculous touchdown catch in Edmonton where he just stole the ball away from an Edmonton defender. And then today with 2 touchdown catches, just doing incredible stuff. The one where the first touchdown, he had to pirouette and spin around, go catch the ball going the other way. It was incredible. And so I will give my tip of the hat to Jake Herslow and make him my player of the game today, out of respect for what he's been able to do. And what about play of the game? Is there one play that you can go back to? And if you want me to go first, I'll go while you think about it.
I think Benji Franklin's 57-yard interception return was something that this fan base has been just so desperate for. You know, this is something we've become accustomed to the past few seasons, Ben, and we've been so close every game this year. We've had defensive backs so close to interceptions or even taking one to the house. I felt when Benji took that one back, we're not losing this football game.
And Benji
it brings an energy that you can't replicate.
Oh yeah, the defense changed after that play. The defense changed, and they had so much confidence last year. Benji Franklin down the stretch. Remember the playoff run last year? Benji Franklin had a pick in like every game.
Huge.
Sometimes two. He was all over the place. Pick sixes, left, right, and center. This year hasn't been like that for him, and especially in the first few games where he didn't even really have knockdowns. He wasn't getting picks. He started to look a little bit more like the Benji Franklin that was so feared at the end of last season, and that pick six is not going to do anything to change that reputation of his. So I love that. As your play of the game. For my play of the game, I'm going to go to the second Jake Herslow touchdown, and the reason for that, it was a nice thrown catch. It was just a corner route from Herslow that Arbuckle found. But let me tell you why this is my play of the game. So to set up the play, you have Felix Gauthier as the tight end on the right side. You have a play fake to Spencer Brown, and then Arbuckle rolls out to his right, and Garant Gauthier's just got a simple block and release. Everyone has run this play in every level of football, starting with Pop Warner. Tight end just has a little engagement and then leaks out to his right as the quarterback's rolling right. And 10 times out of 10, quarterbacks throw to that tight end because he's open. And in this case, Garant Gauthier was open. But Nick Arbuckle did something here that he doesn't generally do. He took the more difficult option way downfield. It wasn't just a guy on a 10-yard out. It was Herslow on a deep corner. And he never even looked at Garant Gauthier. He was thinking corner. He was thinking dagger shot from the word go. On the broadcast, Mike Hogan and I came into that drive saying if they could put a touchdown drive together or even a field goal here, that would really be a dagger. Arbuckle's like, I'm going to do it on one play. We're gonna throw this dagger on one play, and it's right here. I love that he was looking downfield. I love that he thought he was taking a shot right from the moment he got that snap, and it was on the money. It was a perfect ball. Maybe the nicest ball he threw all day was the one to Brissett, because that one just like floated in perfectly into the basket. But if it wasn't the Brissett one, it was that Herslow pass. It was perfect. Gary Peters didn't have a shot at it. And then Herslow with the full extension, just to make sure they didn't have to sneak at him from the one, ends up hitting the pylon just before going out of bounds. So that's going to be my play of the game. So we got our plays of the game. We got our plays of the game. And what a momentum swing heading into next week. Do you think Hamilton's going to be geared up for this one, Labor Day?
Absolutely.
Are you going to be down there for this game?
I'm going to miss this one, unfortunately, but I'll be watching from afar.
Yeah, that's, you got to make sure, if you're an Argos fan, you got to bring it for Adam. Adam's always, you've seen Adam on TV at every single game and every single stadium around the CFL, so you got to make up for Adam's lack of presence next week. He'll be there in spirit, and so you got to be there in person. Get down to the donut box or whatever we're calling it now. Do we have a new nickname for that place now?
It's Hamilton Stadium.
Hamilton Stadium.
Now, ironically.
Yes, get to Hamilton Stadium for the Labor Day Classic. It's always a good one. Hamilton is fired up. They were embarrassed last time out, and they're going to be looking at this film going, we better take care of business before things start getting out of hand here. Is there a chance that the BC Lions woke up the sleeping giant in the Toronto Argonauts? The now third place Toronto Argonauts. They are third place in the East because they have the tiebreaker over Ottawa, just 4 points back to the BC Lions, and they have the tiebreaker over BC and Winnipeg for that matter because they always do in the crossover. That's the way that works. So, any last comments before we sign out of here?
What a great time to be playing your best football going into Labor Day, which is always a must-watch on the calendar, in front of the largest crowd of the season here at BMO. These fans are all going home happy. We're going home happy, and there's hope in Argo land.
Yeah, no, well said. And the environment here, like, it's a circus literally and figuratively here. The CNE behind us just makes for a real event. This is always my favorite game of the year because of the environment. It's just a bit silly when you've got swings and Ferris wheels and roller coasters, and I just think it adds so much to the overall environment. I had some deep fried watermelon coming into the stadium today, and I forced Mike Hogan to eat some as well, which took some doing. Yeah, love this game, and thank you for stepping in for JB, who is actually stuck on an island, which doesn't happen to normal people, but he is on an island with cell service, fortunately. But I think he'll be with us for the pregame walkthrough as we get you set for Labor Day next week. That will just about do it for us on the Postgame Reaction podcast. Again, Argos 52, the BC Lions 34. For Adam Gosse from BMO Field, this is Ben Grant saying so long, and may all your pre-snap reads be good ones. I'll see ya.